Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 34 of What If Naruto Was Betrayed by Hagoromo. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, stay in tune for a brand new episode coming over on Anime King and Anime King 2. And yeah, if you're new, you're hearing that right. I have 3 channels: Anime King 2, and Anime King 3. Links will be down in the description for the others for you guys to go over there and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you all for your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say we get this show on the road? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, Snally was going through a bit of a turmoil as she heard about what happened when Naruto visited the village. As long as Konoha doesn't get involved, he would not turn his wrath on Konoha. Knowing how powerful he is, Snally wanted to avoid it as much as possible. But Mito and Sasuke, the both of them were incredibly strong. Snally could say that they were the strongest in the elemental nation aside from Naruto. And the both of them had a seal that Hagoromo gave them just in case, so they could seal away Naruto. She knew that Mito would hesitate, but from what happened, Naruto telling them to move on in your life, things are going to be much more difficult. She got a letter from Jiraiya that startled her. No one was able to enter the eastern seaboard as it was completely wiped away. Here, all the villages, all the innocent people, all of them, just gone in the blink of an eye. Their bodies disintegrated into dust. As Naruto had created a miniature sun and exploded it after all. Everyone was just gone out of reality. As the entire place was so scalding hot, it would probably take years for the environment to return back to normal. No one could even go there. Jiraiya came back to the village and both of them spoke. The daimyos from each nation. The lightning and water daimyo were friends, and now hearing that his friend was completely gone, they saw the threat was real. A meeting was called, as the daimyos were insisting on this meeting as well, as they want to be there as well. By video call that is, as they want to speak to the Kages. They will have to combine their joint forces, as Gaara also got a letter to wipe out this Naruto Akatsuki. He's powerful, but can he really take on the entire world? The daimyos didn't even know what they were pushing at. But they need to do something before he turned his sight on them. The power balance of the world was thrown completely off course, with Naruto wiping out Kirin. A major nation just completely gone, nothing remaining. Meanwhile, Itachi had went by as he visited Naruto. As he didn't know what exactly was going on, but he knew that Naruto had changed. The both of them spoke as Naruto was able to completely grab him like nothing, and went through his mind. He always wanted to know. As he saw now why Itachi murdered the clan, he was ordered to buy Konoha. Itachi was dying as he knew that he wouldn't last longer. So it's time that he made his brother take away his life and be known as the man that slay, the clan killer. So that is exactly what he did. Sasuke was standing by himself until a crow came his way. With his newfound abilities, Sasuke was easily able to leave the village rather quickly as he made his way to his brother. But Sasuke wasn't here to fight, he wanted to know the truth. He read Itachi's mind as Sasuke had the Rinne Sharingan as well, power granted to him by Hagoromo with both eyes. As Sasuke saw everything, he was still furious at Itachi for doing this. Because it wasn't so easy to forgive someone for slaughtering your entire family. He was just taking it hard. As he had something to do, so he didn't came here to fight. Itachi couldn't believe that Sasuke has awakened such power, as Sasuke was totally out of his league right now, and he wasn't able to beat Sasuke. Itachi was left alone, feeling, well, broken. After all, he wanted his brother to take his life, but his brother didn't even want to give him pity by killing him. Meanwhile, the Akatsuki had got themselves ready, as Navi had left out towards a meeting after 2 days. Everything was ready as all the Akatsuki members were there, except for Itachi. They couldn't wait any longer though, as it was time that they strike. The masked man then appeared. Most of them didn't know who he was, seeing that he never showed himself in the Akatsuki as Tobi. As he brought a surprise with him, Mew, the second teacher Kage, was there, as he arrived and summoned other reanimations. Kabuto hadn't died after all. Naruto had slashed him right across the chest and just left him to die. But Kabuto had dragged himself away, and he ended up being found by the masked man after. He took the remaining cells at the other base and injected them himself, that Orochimaru left behind. And now he had the Edo Tensei at his grasp to use that to bring down Naruto Uzumaki, who he hates so much, as he didn't care what he was calling himself nowadays. As the Akatsuki, along with the reanimation, Tendo, all of his path were there, as they marched towards the Sasuke Empire. As Naruto sensed them coming, a smile came on his face. In another part of the world though, Ishiki Sasuke was also aware of Naruto's existence with Amado. Ishiki knew that it's a matter of time before Naruto find him and come here, but it's not like Naruto is the only Sasuke after all. So yeah guys, those basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. At the moment, thanks Tenzo, say Kakashi. The man known as Tenzo nodded as he flashed away, as Kakashi stood there with a folder in his hand. What he was doing was related to Root, the organization that's said to be shut down a long time ago by the third Hokage. But he still believed that it's up and running. Tenzo was no longer a part of Root as he had left a long time ago. Now working as a regular envoy, he was a commander. Tenzo had just given him all the report, all the locations he remembered Root was located. This was just a hunch that Kakashi was going off of to help Sasuke. Sasuke had come to him and told him what actually happened with Itachi. The boy was going through a lot of turmoil, and Kakashi did as best he can to calm him, just to help out his ex-student, trying his best to make Sasuke calm, because Sasuke was livid. He wanted to go and kill the elders. But doing so, Kakashi had to remind him that will cause many negative effects on him. But if they could find out that Danzo is still running that organization, which Kakashi had a mind that Danzo has been doing for the longest time now, then they can get the go-ahead from Snavi and take down Danzo once and for all. Kakashi still was surprised that Itachi did this for Danzo. The third Hokage wanted to find another way, but Danzo gave him an ultimatum and Itachi had to do it. If for anything, Kakashi wanted to help Sasuke find a peace of mind, as he knew at the moment he's not, well, stable to do this. They hadn't told Snavi about this yet, because they need to find some kind of evidence first. At the moment, Sasuke and Mito was not at the village. They were with Snavi, the both of them, accompanying her to the Kage meeting. Shizune was running things until Snavi arrived. Well, at the moment nothing dangerous had happened, because everyone wanted the same thing. They all wanted to take down the Sasuke Empire. Kakashi couldn't believe that things went, well, that far, as he remembered back then, when Team 7 was just his cute little Jennings. But now all of them had grown. Mito and Sasuke was the two strongest in the village, as they were above Sani level and even Kage level right now. And Naruto was just a god. After all, when you can do the things that he can do, you just have to call him a god. Kakashi tucked the folder away in a seal as he made his way to investigate. As soon as he found something, as soon as he find a single track that Danzo is still mixed up in Root, still he will have to find something. He have to find something to make Sasuke find a little bit of peace of mind, as that man was responsible of Sasuke losing everything. Perhaps the third Hokage could have found another way to stop the Uchiha massacre, as Kakashi wondered how Itachi must be feeling right now. Itachi must be feeling torn, as Sasuke had felt everything in his mind, and felt his emotion as well. He wanted Sasuke to get revenge on him, just so he could be seen as the man that slaughtered the man that slaughtered his clan. But Sasuke didn't even want to kill him out of pity, as the boy was just, well, he couldn't accept or move on until he did something, at least kill Danzo for what he did. The other elders, they weren't too much involved. They were against the Uchiha clan, but Danzo was the one that gave the order. So Sasuke wanted to see the man go down. He wanted to take him down. He just told Sasuke to keep his cool until he found something. Meanwhile, at the meeting, all of the bodyguards were up in a stance, surrounding the Kages down below. The four great nations, after all, Kiri, was no longer a thing. There was 4 screens in front of him, with all daimyo. The fire daimyo, the wind daimyo, the lightning daimyo, and the earth daimyo. Mifune was there as he was a proctor for this meeting. Snazzy and Jiraiya had a very long talk. And it was in the best interest that everything goes along smoothly. After all, she didn't give a damn about Kumo or the Hidden Stone. Kumo, the Raikage and his force had attacked Konoha, intending on wiping it out a couple years ago. The Hidden Stone and them has always been at each other's throats. The only person she cared about here was Gaara. But she was sure that the daimyo would want her removed from seat if she did not agree with his terms. He would want to speak to the other members of the council, and that would look bad on Snazzy. That she doesn't want to be involved in the attack, because she would willingly hand over Konoha. They will try to twist it in some ways, especially Danzo in the last meeting. He said that it was only right that he agreed with the other nations. Naruto Sasuke was powerful, but he was still one man. None of them knew what the hell they were doing, and this would surely get most of them killed. But it's not like she can go against it, as this was the first time all Kages and daimyo were here. It's quite simple, the lightning daimyo said. We just all have to join forces for the foreseeable future until the Akatsuki Empire is wiped out. If we do not, the recent attack that happened to the Land of Water would surely fall on us as well. So we have to take charge before this boy snaps and decide to annihilate all of us. This is what I've been saying for the longest time, said the Raikage. Well, if you hadn't antagonized him, this wouldn't have happened, said Snazzy. This is on you as well, Hokage. This boy was once a Konoha shinobi. Snazzy's eyes turned towards him in a heated glare. Yes, a Konoha shinobi that stopped your invasion on the village a couple of years ago. And you held a grudge since he took your brother's life, despite ninjas of Konoha dying as well. You held that grudge on him ever since. We knew about your recent attack trying to kill him, but you failed. And now you realize that you need more than your village to take him on. Why do you think the result will be different if all of us face him? He's just one man, princess, said Oniki as he looked towards Snazzy. He might be powerful, but he's still one man. He has to run out of stamina, he has to run out of strength. Are you saying that we should use all of our shinobis to wear him out and cause unnecessary death? Ask Gaara. In a sense, you have to, said the lightning daimyo. If he's not stopped, he will end up wiping out this entire world. As you all can see, he has the power to do so. That is why we all have to join forces. He's from Konoha, so there must be some attachment there, something that we can use to hold him down. And that would be his sister, the Raikage said, as he glanced up towards where the bodyguards were. Of course he knew of Mito Uzumaki. Yes, we can use her to hold him down. Snazzy slammed her fist in the table. You guys are talking like I'm not right here, she said. Do you think I willingly give you one of my shinobis used as a sacrifice, she asked. It is for the good of the world, princess. Or don't you want to fight against him, asked Oniki. Oh, I see what's going on. He's not gonna attack Konoha, is he? He's just out for the rest of the world, and you're on his side, said the Raikage. The Hokage will never do something like that, the Fire Daimyo said. She is on the side of the world maintaining peace. If the tragedy is to fall on us, everyone will hurt in a different way. Missions will be overtaken, bankruptcy, everything will go to the Akatsuki Empire, and we will have nothing. I'm sure the Hokage doesn't want that as much as you people. The Fire Daimyo said, sticking up for Snazzy. We have already discussed matters about it, and she's on our side. So don't go after her like she's with the enemy, the daimyo said. Are you sure? After all, his sister is in Konoha. How do we know that they're not colluding together, the lightning daimyo asked. Simple, because we would have joined Naruto a long time ago. to ensure that we wiped out the other nation and leave the sand because we're allies. Considering the fact that we're not allies with either of you, she said, looking at Oniki and the Raikage. So is that how you're gonna play it, the Raikage asks. The man was really short-tempered. I never said anything about that, said Tsunade. I'm just merely stating a fact. So are you with us? Or are you against us, the Stone Daimyo asks. I am a part of the coalition that doesn't want to see the world completely taken over by the Sasuke Empire. Because if that happened, as the Fire Daimyo said, everything will fall apart. The economy will mean nothing because everything will go to him. Missions will be non-existent. And then, every minor villages, especially the villages, the large amount of ninjas, would wither away, seeing that we have a lot of mouths to feed, and there will be no missions to overtake. Then, the economy will truly suffer, she said. The Hokage is right, said Gaara. She's on the side of making sure that the world stay in harmony. And things go as it is right now. But in doing so, we have to take out the Sasuke Empire and their leader. Yes, but before that, we want to know exactly what is going on, Lightning Daimyo said. We've heard from the Raikage that he is some kind of a ancient being that is somehow born in this timeline. So tell us, Hokage, what have you been keeping from us? Tsunade knew that something like this might happen. Well, it's not like she had anything against not telling them everything. Well, this is going to be a long story, she said. We have time, said the Raikage, as he really wanted to know what exactly was Sasuke Naruto, as he called the Sage of Six Paths his brother. They intended to know everything. Tsunade knew by doing this, she would have to reveal that Sasuke and Mito had something to stop this. But she won't be sending the both of them in alone. The other nation will have to pull their own as well. Alright. So from what I know, meanwhile, at the Sasuke Empire, at the first wall, after all, it was designed with 3 walls. The main outer wall, with a large section between it. Inside that was a secondary wall. And inside the middle of that was where Naruto and the more upper heads, like the council members, live. But it wasn't because of money. Well, Naruto and the upper heads, they had more money. But Naruto didn't really use money, but that's not the thing. Everyone in the Sasuke Empire had money. Yes, there weren't a single person that lived on the street. After all, being in charge of at least 11 minor villages and 7 cities, all things were run through them. And it was shared equally, but the Sasuke Empire took a larger cut. At least the economy was not completely falling apart. Teiwaya knew exactly what she was doing, along with the council head and her advisors. At the front wall, there were many Akatsuki guards standing there. You have 5 seconds to leave this place before we retaliate, the leader of the group said. A man named Kenji with a scar on his cheek. Kenji was a low rank Soul Ninja, who was probably at least Chunin level even though he was Jonin status. The Hidden Stone ranking was not all that perfect. But after their lord, their gracious Lord Naruto, had offered them his power, all of them had grouped up and many of them had died. Because some of them, their body could not handle it. But his body adapted quite well, boosting his strength. His reflex, his speed, his jutsus became deadly and destructive. As Kenji looked towards the group in front of him, a group of ninjas, their faces looked cracked. They stand in a formal line. Behind them was another group. Leave, or we will retaliate. Kenji noticed someone walk forward. Kimimaru? Several bones were shot from Kimimaru's wrists as Kenji drew its blade. The man's blade sliced through the bones without much effort, weight shocker coating it. But you're dead. It seems I'm not in control of my actions, and I can't stop myself. The Hidden Sound has truly changed. This is not the Hidden Sound anymore. This is the Akatsuki Empire. I don't know what you are, but I can't allow you to touch the village. Kenji moved forward, stopping his other man in their tracks. Kimimaru extended bones from all over his body and came bearing down. all for Kenji to twist underneath it and flip over, gouging out Kimimura's left shoulder as he flipped and severed the man in half. As Kenji looked forward, one down, one two, he twisted his body as a bone past where his throat was. He was sent sailing by a deadly kick in the stomach that launched him backwards. Luckily, he flipped and landed on his feet. Kenji turned confused. But as Kimimura's body had reformed. Meanwhile, inside of the palace. What? Yes. It seems that Akatsuki has finally showed up, said Naruto. She couldn't feel like he could. After all, the place was large, but he could feel everything around. And why are you just sitting here, she asks. You know that it's gonna take a long while to rebuild if they end up marching in and destroying the place, right? Naruto released a sigh as he looked through the window. They're disappointing, he said. Wait, what? The Akatsuki member of the Rinnegan. I can feel him from here. He's not as strong as I thought. So that's it, you're bored. As usual, he said, as he flopped down on the bed. But there's a lot of them, right? Said Yujito. Yeah, said Naruto. Well, they should at least give you a challenge. She shook her head at the crazy statement. Here she was trying to convince him to fight because he found them boring. Something has been different with you. Ever since you left that night and came back. Where did you go, she asked. Nowhere, he said. She lowered herself on the bed beside him. I don't know how, but I start to know when you're lying. So please, don't lie to me, she said. Where did you go? Fine, I went to Konoha. Konoha? Why? I told him to move on. You did what? Ever since I heard that you were pregnant, it just... I don't know why, but... I'm changing. Yes, you are. So you've noticed, said Naruto. Well, you haven't been all that arrogant with us for a couple of years, but other people, you've acting different around them. Even though you recently wiped out Kiri. Please tell me you're not gonna do that to all the nations, she said. Not all of them, said Naruto. She released a sigh. You know that this is gonna cause more problem, right? Think about it. You wiped out the entire nation. The nations are gonna group up against you, including Konoha, and they're gonna attack. I warned Konoha not to enter, he said. Tsunade might be the Hokage, but the daimyo, the clan members, the council head, they are gonna want her to attack. And she has to go along with it or she will be dethroned. Unlike you, that has complete control over the Sasuke Empire. She had advised her on those things. You understand, she said. As Naruto said nothing and simply closed his eyes. She placed her head on his chest. You've really changed, she said. Not in, like, going soft, but you're acting different. I know. I can't explain it myself, he said to her. Maybe you're just realizing that having a child is gonna bring more enjoyment to your life. What? Children are just things that poop and cry all the time. Why would they bring me more enjoyment and excitement, Naruto asks? Well, I've heard from many people that when they become parents, they've started to look at life differently. You've been a god for your entire life. Well, part where you were sealed away in that box wasn't so pleasant. I don't know if you've fully gotten over that trauma, but sometimes I feel you're still having a hard time. But that's not it. Becoming a parent means that you have a new life to watch over. What are you talking about? I'm more than powerful enough to protect my son. Or my daughter. You still don't want to know, she said. Nah, I want you to be a surprise. She giggled. And you do, he asks. Yeah, but I'm not gonna tell you. So as I was saying, it's not about protecting with pure raw power. It's about teaching and guiding them. You've never actually been a parent. You're talking like you have been, said Naruto. Well, I haven't, but let's just say it's gonna change people. I've heard a lot of wise words from people, she said. Especially when the others get pregnant. You're gonna have more kids on your hand and more to love. And I'm sure that's not a long way, considering how much time you guys go at it. As she pouted. No, said Naruto. It's not gonna harm the baby, she said. You haven't touched me since I told you I was pregnant. You're afraid that you're gonna harm the baby. It's not, she said. Naruto got up as he stretched. She pouted some more. I will get what I want. As she dived after him, only for him to catch her in his arms. He planted a precious kiss on her lips. As he placed her back on the bed before pulling himself up. Hey, that's not fear, she said. No, you got me all riled up. Sorry. Have to go and protect the village. What? Now you want to do that, she asks. He simply winked. Be back soon. I'll get what I want, Naruto Sasuke. As he was gone already. She simply smiled. Yes, he was surely changing a lot. Teiwaya then walked in the room. Where's Naruto, she asks. Sorry, you just missed him. Does he know that the village is being attacked, Teiwaya said, looking annoyed. Yeah. He said that they're not strong enough though. Teiwaya flexed her hand. You know what? It's been so long since I had some fun. I'm gonna go and take them on. Her hand was grabbed by Yujito. What is it, kitten? She saw the look in her eyes. Oh. Is that the look? What are you talking about? Well, you see, I've watched you and you have this look when you want to, I have a look? Yeah. A very different look from everything else. And I think that's a look. I don't have a look. Alright then, I'll be on my way. No, don't go. As Teiwaya simply laughed to herself. Oh, don't worry, kitten. I'll keep you company. After all, Naruto can handle them, she said. As she jumped on bed. Meanwhile, back at the outer wall. Why are we just standing here, asked Hidan. We're waiting, said Tendo. For what? Hidan asked. That. As they saw something descending from the sky. Tendo had a perfect plan. As he already relayed that to Madara to tell, the one in control of the Edo Tensei. Once they battle Naruto here, send the Edo Tensei inside the village to cause chaos. To torn Naruto's mind from the battle between, saving his village. And then he will be distracted, and that will be the perfect time. Meanwhile, Kenji was taking on Kidamaru, Kimimaru, and Jirobo, as the members of the Zone 4 had been reanimated. As he clashed with them, Seikon and Ukon came out of nowhere, but the man was still holding his own until Kidamaru knocked him back. A bone then stabbed in his shoulder by Kimimaru as Seikon punched him in the stomach. The man rolled as he picked himself up. He flashed Yuan sign, but Jirobo threw a massive stone towards them. Kenji's fist started cracking with lightning as he smashed his fist, breaking the stone. Jirobo then slammed into him out of nowhere, throwing him out to the ground. Kimimaru then came down with a bone sword, but suddenly, the bone sword slammed into a hand. As the sword simply broke apart, the hand being too strong to be pierced. The face of Kimimaru was grabbed and squished to pieces. As Kenji looked up, "My lord," he said. As he bowed deeply, Jirobo came rushing in. His fist caught back to slam Naruto's head off his shoulder. Naruto simply turned towards him, his eyes pulsed, as Jirobo's body was ripped to pieces. Literal just blown to pieces. All of you, said Naruto. As he looked towards his soldiers, he raised a hand and waved it. The reanimations were blown back by an unseen force as they crashed in the ground. Return back to the wall and protect the city, he said. Do me a favor, he said, looking down at Kenji. Anything, my lord. Go to Karin and tell her to put up the defensive measures that she created around the village. At once. You did well, said Naruto. You and your man holding them off until I appeared. Kenji bowed sincerely. Thank you, my lord. It's an honor hearing that from you. Go, said Naruto. At once. He nodded towards his man as all of them quickly fall back. None of them were under the impression that he couldn't handle himself. After all, this was the man that created a moon, pulled meteors from the sky, wiped out entire nations. As Kenji quickly rushed towards Karin's location, as Naruto's eyes roamed over the battlefield, instantly, the large group made their way towards him. As he saw the person in the center walking towards him, orange hair and piercing all over his face. As Naruto's eyes scanned over the man, a puppet, he said, as he looked at the others in the background just watching him. His eyes roamed over the area. As it went around, Konan's eyes widened. Did he already find out about Nagato? As Naruto's eyes focused, Konan was confused. His eyes did not change. How was he finding Nagato? As Naruto simply scoffed. I told you to bring your best, and this is what you brought me, he said. Your puppets, and these undead warriors. You bastard! You're the one that killed me, Kitamura said, as he fired off several arrows, going straight towards Naruto. Naruto caught them, and snapped them like a twig. He raised his hand and pulled Kitamura towards him. Kitamura pulled out two swords made from the goo that came from his body, as he pointed them forth to rip them right through Naruto's skin. Naruto looked down as they slammed into his chest. Kitamura was surprised when they shattered upon contact, as Naruto grabbed his head and squashed it before ripping his hand back, tearing out Kitamura's soul. But instead of releasing it, Naruto squashed it in his palm, as he just brushed his hand off. Is this really the best you got, Naruto asked. And who are you, said Naruto as he looked up in the air, as Mew looked down on him. I am a ghost from your past that has come to haunt you, Mew said. Oh really? So you're in charge of these undead warriors? As Naruto glanced around. Pathetic. He glanced towards Tendo. So this is what you brought me to get the other tail pieces. I want to know, if I hand them over to you, what will you do with them? That is none of your concern, said Tendo. All you should know is, they will be mine. And how exactly you're gonna get them? One way or another, said Tenzo. If it means going through you, then so it shall be. Is that so? Suddenly, a red barrier overtook the entire Sasuke Empire, making Naruto smirk. He was stalling, Tenzo realized, as Naruto simply turned his back as he looked over the red barrier. Tenzo pulled out a black rod. As he tossed it, the thing sailed right through the air, going towards Naruto's back. In that split second, Naruto turned and caught it. He held onto the black rod in his hand. Your Rinnegan, it's lacking a lot, he said, as he snapped the rod and tossed it to the side. I thought he would have more power, but it seems I was wrong. This is nothing but a waste of my time. You there, said Naruto as he looked up in the sky. Is this all you have? Mew looked down at him. If you think you can walk out of this unscathed, well then, try your best, said Mew. As Naruto sighed, Mew quickly formed a portal in front of his hands. The reanimations moved out of the way. Behind Mew, there were some other coffins that came out of the ground that was over to the bushes. As the past Kages rose out of them, Mew fired down his portal style as he came towards Naruto in that arc, a bright white light. Tendo watched as the thing came crashing down. But Naruto did not move. He simply raised his hand and absorbed it. The power flowed through him. Naruto was like a connected rod. As he aimed his other hand towards Mew, the same power shot from his palm and slammed into Mew, who didn't have time to move, shredding his body into nothingness. Instantly, someone flew towards Naruto, finger extended. As Naruto looked down, it was the right Kage, the previous one, his hand ready to split Naruto in half. Naruto turned and smashed his fist against the man's finger. A bright collision as the two opposite forces clashed. The Raikage's entire arm was shredded off by Naruto's punch. The explosion blowing back some of the reanimation. Water style, Hydra Spear. A spear made from water that was fuming in the air shot towards Naruto from the second Kage. As Naruto stepped out of the way with such ease, golden sand erupted all around him. He extended one hand and it was blown apart. As Naruto shook his head, summoning Jutsu, the animal path said. A massive rhino shot towards Naruto, running through reanimation, crushing them as it ran. The horn of the rhino came towards Naruto as Naruto lifted himself off the ground. He pulled his head back and smashed his skull right into the rhinos. The thing faltered its legs, breaking in the ground. As it poofed away, a bird shot down from the air, releasing bombs as it flied towards him. Naruto leaped up and grabbed the bird by its tail. Before twisting it, he held onto the neck and turned it. He then threw it towards all of the path like a spear. The bird beak smashed into the ground. The paths flew away. Instantly, Naruto found himself being covered by paper. Paper started to wrap around him in mid-air. As the paper wrapped tightly around his body, Konan formed around him. She came out of his back with a long paper spear he extended. Her eyes then went wide. Before she screamed, Tendo's eyes went wide as Konan paper started to burn. She instantly left Naruto's body as she started to fall. Immediately, the robot Pat shot forward as he caught her, jumping towards a safe destination. As she had burns all over her, Tendo watched as his eyes went wide as Naruto blinked, literally out of existence. Before the robot Pat head simply fly away as Naruto kicked his head right off. He grabbed Konan by the shirt and lifted her up as her body was intensely burned. He grabbed her throat tightly. Instantly, the human Pat landed as it placed a hand on Naruto's head. He tried to dive into Naruto's mind. He tried to rip his soul out as well, but nothing happened. Your Rinnegan is not on the same level as mine. The human Path quickly leaped away. Sand came breaking out of the ground once again, swallowing Naruto's foot. As Konan was grabbed away from him by the revival path will leaked way back in the background. The sand then created two giant fists that smashed Naruto down into the ground. When the sand cleared away, he was not there anymore. Raza, the fourth Kage, looked around. As he couldn't see him, suddenly he felt something behind him. His soul was yanked out of his body as Kabuto felt one of his next pawns lost. The right Kage came rushing in with blinding speed, his body caked in a layer of lightning. He smashed into Naruto's shoulder away, throwing Naruto back. But the man's body started to break down as Naruto had tore out his soul so quickly, it wasn't even noticed. The reanimations then came in like dog pile. All of them bearing down on Naruto, launching their most deadliest jutsus. The Paths of Pain stood back, realizing that shit was going to hell. No matter what they did, he seemed untouchable. But Tendo and the Paths haven't fully fight yet. But the hope was slowly lingering away. Konan was still wincing in pain as the revival path quickly got to work on helping her and also the robot path as well, who had lost his head. Reanimations after reanimations were being ripped. In the cave, Kabuto was snarling. Just what the hell was he? They thought they had a fighting chance, but they weren't even getting anywhere. Kabuto had to bring out the big guns as he watched his reanimations were torn down. And the scary thing about it was, Naruto wasn't, well, even fighting hard. His eyes were normal golden. He was simply wearing a white t-shirt and black pants. He didn't even look like he was here to fight, just to casually walk around the road or something. But reanimations after reanimations were getting torn down and destroyed. Yes, he will have to bring out the big guns. Perhaps that man could take on or at least have a shot in taking down this monster of a man. As Kabuto watched the final reanimations got ripped away. The scary thing about it was Naruto was not releasing his soul. He was crushed in his palm. Kabuto had no idea what happened when he did that, but that was the same thing that he did to Orochimaru. And he was sure that it wasn't anything good. But he will have to wait. After all, the Path of the Pains was supposed to be ready by now to take him on. To see how the Rinnegan would face up against him. To see exactly where they will go. Nagato watched as all the reanimations were done for. The only thing that stood there now was the Akatsuki. As Naruto's eyes turned towards Hidan. "You," he said. "Where's Jackson?" he asked. "How do you know about my lord?" "Your lord." "What exactly do you think Jackson is?" Naruto asked. "Jackson is my god," Hidan said. "Someone like you, a heathen, should respect his name." Naruto started to laugh. How dare you mock me, Hidan said. Hidan, calm the hell down, said Kakazu. Your lord. Jashin, what the hell have you been telling these people near to ask? He stood there. They were confused. What the hell is going on, said Kisame. You dried up piece of crap. Don't you hear me talking to you? Show your face, said Naruto. As Hidan eye twitched, he launched himself forward, his sight prepared to gouge into Naruto's face. Don't you speak about Lord Jashin like that, or you will feel my wrath. As he brought his sight down, only for Naruto to slip past him. Jashin, said Naruto, completely ignored Hidan. Hidan swung his sight once again, as Naruto simply stepped to his side. Hidan cursed as he swing and swing, but Naruto kept on avoiding him even though he wasn't even looking at him. Naruto finally turned as he grabbed Hidan by the throat. He pulled his sight away from him and stomped in it, snapping it. As he tossed it away, Hidan reached out to gouge out Naruto's eyes. His hands did not reach Naruto's face as Naruto slammed him into the earth. Oh, I get it now, said Naruto, as he stabbed his hand right through Hidan and flooded his chakra into Hidan's body. Everyone watches Hidan's features start to change. As Naruto backed away, Hidan changed into something grotesque, something dark. His face, his skin color, his white hair turned dark like night. A single eye was in his forehead. As he picked himself up, ugly as ever, said Naruto. So tell me, Jashin, what have you been telling these people near the axe? Jashin looked at Naruto. How did you? I simply pulled your connection here. You don't have full control over his body, but still, it's enough time for us to talk. So tell me, in the past years or so, what the hell have you been doing? As Naruto looked at Jashin, of course he knew what Jashin was. Jashin wasn't a god or anything like that. He was just a spawn of a Jubi that had gained sentience, a mind of its own. Jashin believed that because he was a part of the god tree once, he was to be hailed as a god. The thing that Naruto got along with him well because they loved killing people and tormenting things in the past. Yes, he never told Hagoromo or Hamura about Jashin, but he was the cause of the deaths in many of the towns. He went to go investigate when he had found Jashin, and he speared him. Well, since you were sealed away by your brothers, I had to go in hiding to make sure that the same doesn't happen to me. After all, they were able to take you down because you were playing with them. Am I right, Jashin asked. As Naruto said nothing, as I thought, said Jashin. I know they weren't able to take you down. After all, you and I both know how strong you are. So for the both of them to defeat you, even if it was 2-on-1, that was just ridiculous. But now you're back. Is the plan to rid this world of all humans still in effect? No. Jashin narrowed his eyes. If we did that, then who would I rule? Naruto asked. As wise as always. Well, could you find a way to permanently let me take over this body so that I can, well, walk free? Having these humans worship me for the longest time was good, but I've always wanted to find a way to completely cement my soul into one of them. How did you even end up like this in the first place, Naruto asked? I got cocky after Hagoromo got old and Hamura left. I took on his son, given the fact that I could constantly regenerate. He split my body and inject his chakra into my system and spread it to the corners of the earth to make sure I won't be able to come back together unless someone pieced me together. Even my entire mind was split. It took a long while for me to gain back consciousness. When I did, I was just like a ghost, wandering the earth, nothing more, nothing less. Until I decided to find a way to gain power over this world. The more sacrifices offered in my name, the stronger I get. So I simply made the humans believe that I was a god and they should keep on sacrificing humans in my name so I can get their souls. And in doing so, I used my pieces that remain all over the world to send my chakra in their system to replenish their body, giving them a sense of immortality. They can get stabbed, beheaded. It doesn't matter, my chakra heals them too fast. Well, you should know that. The both of us chakra are similar in that regard. Yes, but I'm not a parasite. As Naruto grabbed him by the throat. What are you doing, Justin asks. I always hated you. I thought you had died a long time ago. To hear that you've been running a cult, thinking that you're a god. You piece of crap. I am the only god here, said Naruto. As Jashin felt the pull. What are you doing to me? I'm erasing you, said Naruto, as he held on to Jashin's head. Kisame rushed in, seeing that Naruto was wide open. He brought down Samihata. Boom! Kisame was stopped. A hand that came from Naruto's back and blocked Samihata. As Jashin screamed, as Naruto completely obliterated him. He then dropped to the ground, wheezing, as he felt like his entire airway had been clogged a moment ago. What did you do to me, you heathen? He said. He picked himself up. Oi, fish face. Long time no see, said Naruto as he turned towards Kisame. Fire release. Wind release. Collaboration attack. Indent. Both Kisame and Hidan leaped away. Two strange gloves made from strings that Naruto could see shot a combined attack towards them as the attack swallowed him whole. Naruto burst out of the fire as he grabbed both masked creature by the face and smashed them into the earth, destroying their masses. Kakazu's eyes widened as Naruto started to pounce on him. Kakazu leaped away as he went through hand sign. Water release. Water bullet. As he spewed water bullet out of his mouth, Naruto slapped him away with his hand. You want to test abilities? Well then. As Naruto took in a breath, light spear. As he spewed a beam of light out of his mouth. Kakazu dodged aside, but he wasn't fast enough as his arm was torn off. Luckily, threads emerged from his shoulder and reconnected his arm as Naruto shot towards him. Kakazu hardened his body. Bam, bam, bam. Kakazu didn't know what was going on as blood burst from his mouth, despite his body being rock hard. And Naruto slammed his fist 3 times in his gut. He started to cough up blood as Naruto grabbed him by the face. Before yellow lightning started to sparkle off his hands. No fry, he said. Kakazu cried out in pain as Naruto electrocuted every nerve inside of his body, burning out his remaining hearts. The man came rushing as Hidan came swinging his pipe. As Naruto turned and grabbed it, before turning Hidan's hand, breaking his wrist. Hidan cried out in pain. He didn't know why, but the pain felt more painful as Naruto drive the pipe through his stomach. Hidan staggered back, feeling woozy. What did... Oh, I forgot. You're not immortal anymore. Slam! Naruto kicked his head right off his shoulders. Suddenly, Kisame dropped down on Naruto as Samihata slammed right into him. As Naruto staggered back, Samihata wrapped around him as he started to absorb his chakra. Naruto smiled as Kisame held onto the grip. You want my chakra? Then take it! As Naruto released it full force, Samihata started to get large. Kisame's eyes went wide. Samihata stopped. Boom! Samihata exploded. Kisame couldn't believe what he was seeing. Well, it wasn't that he saw for too long as Naruto gouged his eyes right out of his socket. He stepped back, held on to his empty eye sockets as he screamed. As Naruto drove his hand right through his chest. Before pulling it back out, Naruto was slammed by a bright blue beam that sent him sailing away as he crashed in the ground. The robot path released everything that he got in the cannon. Everything! Pouring it out on Naruto, releasing it. The ground, the entire place tremor as the thing kept on driving Naruto deeper and deeper in the earth. Trying to take him out of the battle, trying to bring him down. The remaining paths, as the robot path finished, they launched black rods in towards the hole, trying to impale Naruto. All for a hand to break out of the ground and grab the robot path by his face. As Naruto snapped his neck, slamming his body into the ground, breaking to pieces. A staff instantly appeared in his hand as he twisted, blocking the staff from Tendo Pain. The black rod. Tendo raised his hand. Almighty. Push! Boom! The thing slammed into Naruto's body like a tidal wave. But to Tendo's shock, Naruto did not move. He stood tall as Naruto's eyes pulsate. His eyes changed into the running Sharingan. You want to feel force, do you? Said Naruto. I'll show you force. Boom! A massive explosion came out of his body in a rippling force. All the path's eyes went wide. Conan was already up in mid-air as she had healed up nicely from the revival path. Even her was blown off course, her body shooting through the sky. The remaining paths that were too close couldn't hold up. Their bodies were launched like a rag doll. They smashed all around. The human path and the animal path not having such a good time as their heads cracked into the ground. Tendo was able to flip as the absorption path came in front of him. Tendo used his body as a propeller as he leaped back so he wouldn't get completely obliterated. Now the three paths stood. The absorption path left arm was ripped off. The revival path quickly went off to gather the others as it summoned the King of Hell as Naruto stood there. Tendo was confused as he saw Naruto looking at the King of Hell like he could actually see it. He couldn't because they weren't using it on him. As Naruto ran his Sharingan pulsate, the King of Hell eyes changed into the rain Sharingan. The other paths that the revival path placed in his mouth was still there. The King of Hell tongue came out, two-tongued like a fork. Shot forward, they wrapped around the two remaining paths, leaving Tendo as they pulled them in. What is this? Said Tendo. They were pulled inside as the thing started to bite down, crushing them before dragging them back to hell. Tendo stood there confused. As Naruto rocketed forward, he held up his hand. Almighty, Naruto held up his hand as he mocked him. Almighty pushed the both of them, said. The two colliding forces smashed. The ground underneath them was torn apart, ripped up badly, blown, incinerated. Both men standing in an empty wasteland when it was over. Conan was up in the air, completely a brothel. She was stunned, she was shocked. She knew that things would be bad, but not like this. Through all of this, they hit him, but they barely hurt him. That was the messed up thing about this. Tendo quickly jumped away. Seeing no other options, he slammed his hand together. Planetary devastation, he said, as he released a tiny ball. As the entire place started to shake, Kenji and the others, the other Akatsuki troops, started to feel the place shaking. Naruto looked towards his empire as his eyes pulsed, and the place leveled out. Tendo struggled as he tried to, but the earth wasn't moving. Just what the hell? Do you think you can control gravity better than me? Naruto asked. He scoffed. Really pathetic. As Naruto stepped forward walking, the trees around him that were remaining started to bend. The ground started to crack. The water over the side started to splash violently, creating thunder waves. I thought you'd pose a challenge, but it seems like you're just as pathetic as I thought. Tendo blinked as Naruto grabbed his face. The man was picked off the ground. As Naruto injected his finger inside the man's head and sent chakra. Nagato screamed out in pain, his head going mad with power. Too much power overload. Tendo's head exploded from the shock. As Nagato was crying out suddenly, a vortex appeared behind him. He was stabbed right through the back. He looked down towards the long Tonto. He slowly turned his head. You've used up your usefulness, said Obito with a smile. Well, he couldn't see because of his mask. Madara, you bastard, Tendo said. Because of his destruction he got. Meanwhile, Conan flew off in a fright, running towards Nagato for aid to get him the hell out of here. As they couldn't win against this monster, it was a mistake to even come here. Naruto turned to go after her, but suddenly, a coffin came out of the ground. As someone blew open the lid. And who are you, said Naruto. As the Sharingan eyes looked over Naruto. Interesting. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications to stay posted. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.